Okay, now we come to a dilemma about how to pick up stitches for the gusset. If we picked up stitches and tried to put them on either side, what's going to happen is we're not going to be able to stretch this gusset. It's not going to get, we're not going to get very far. We might be able to do some on one side, on the bottom for a little bit, but then we're not going to be able to stretch it too much, and we're not going to be able to have as much stretch on the other side. If you try to rotate it so the gussets were kind of going this way, all the gusset was over here, and some of it was here, and shift this over, that's also not going to work. It's going to be too stretched. What you could do is take half and half here and put this half over here, this half over here, rotate it around, and half the heel there, and pick up stitches for the gusset here. Like this diagram. So the heel flap won't be overstretched. But the problem is with this, you're going to be having to move like 18, 19 stitches each time for a while. That's a lot of stitches to move, and that's on each bed. That's just a pain to move that many stitches. So the solution that I have is to cast on with waste yarn, and then at the end graft it onto the gusset. So we actually don't have to stretch the gusset stays down until the end when we stitch it together. Now to do that, you can have two separate pieces of your final yarn on either side at the end, or you can have one piece of yarn that you knit here with two ends that you're going to use for the grafting. So what I'm going to do is knit these stitches with a length of yarn from the other side of the ball that matches this color right here. And then when I do the grafting on either side, I will have only one end on each side to weave in instead of two ends on each side. You don't have to match here and knit an extra row. It's just that I'm just going to do this so I have two less ends to weave in. So what I'm going to do is move my lock to the right. I'm on LX. I don't have any pushers up. GX on the back, so I'm going to move over and switch the color off. Okay, I am going to switch to N on the front because I'm just going to knit all of these and keep that down. And on the right, I'm already going to have plenty of slack because I've secured the yarn. That's going to be enough for the graft. So I'm going to go one row here. And I'm going to want to leave a fair amount at the end here before I cut the yarn so that I have enough for the graft. So I'm going to switch to LX and move this back over and deposit my yarn. And switch to the other one. And then cut it after maybe a foot or so, depending. Maybe I'll give it a little bit more. Okay. What I'm going to do is cast on in open tubular, open on the right, with some waste yarn so that I'll have stitches to stitch into when I continue on with the sock. So I'm going to pick up my yarn. Okay, so this is essentially a single bed cast on. It's just continuing on to the other bed. We don't actually need it to be particularly neat, but we want it to function. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to put down the pushers for all the needles that I have yarn on it. I'm going to put those completely down. And I'm going to pull them up into work
just into work for all the other needles. And then I'm going to make a 1 up, 1 down pattern. So I'll start up. Why not? And now you start, you don't just like say, okay, this is where my position is for here. Because you know that's it's an even or odd number stitch. You continue from here, you offset. So here, then the next one should be up because that one was down. Up. Same thing on the back. This is up, so the pusher here should be down. So I'm actually going to pull these pushers into work. So I should have 5, yeah, on this side, all those down, and then 6 on this side. Okay. And then we're going to go in that 1 up, 1 down pattern. So I'm going to start these all down. So this is up. This one's going to, next one to be down. Up, down, up, down. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay. Now, you're going to have better success with some thicker yarn that the black pushers are going to be able to actually push down. When you're doing single bed, on a single bed machine, you will have a weight, a little comb with all these prongs on it to hold the stitches down. We don't have that, so we're just going to hope that the black strippers are going to be able to push it, and the thicker the yarn we have, the more likely it is that the stripper will actually be able to push it successfully. You could use a cast on rag or something, or something already had and hook it into it, but I'm going to start fresh with some waste yarn. Okay, I'm going to be on LX on the front, and the back I'm going to be on GX at first. You could be on HX, but I'm just going to be on GX right now. So then we'll do 1 row. I'm same stitch size because I'm using yarn that's similar thickness. Now, if you're worried about the black strippers going over your work again and again, feel free to take the work off onto cast on combs. It doesn't matter if this waste yarn is going to be inside or outside or sock. It won't matter. I'm going to go to GX now on the front, or actually, I'm going to stay on LX on the front because everything has been pushed down. You could push the pushers down, or you could change to GX if you're on the DM80, your choice. Now on the back, I'm going to be on BX. You could do HX and it would work on this 1 row, but we're going to have to change it going counterclockwise for the next row. So here, let's go. Let's knit these. Okay, good. Now what I'm going to do is change the back pushers to be all up. And then I'm still on BX, and I'm going to do 1 row, and then we're going to knit backwards here. It's going to stay on the back bed. And so hopefully it's going to be able to knit those off. And if not, you can kind of finesse it, look at it, and say, did it knit off, or did it just double? No, it looks like it knit off. Okay, doing well. Now on the back, I'm going to change it to BX. You can use the arrow keys on it as well. I'm just switching right now just because I have to switch the front no matter what, or do something on the front no matter what each time. So I'm just putting the back onto GX. We're not knitting on the back right now. And then on the front, I'm going to bring all those pushers for all the waste yarn needles into work. And then I'm going to do LX. Okay, it looks like those knit pretty well. And we're going to do that again. And for the E6000, I'm going to have to put them into work again. Now, I think it actually works different if you have the power on or off sometimes. In some modes, it may not push these back down. But how I am now, it is pushing them back down. If it is not pushing them back down for you, move them as necessary. We're just going to continue on. And now on the back, I'm going to switch to BX. Now I could use arrows and pushers, but I'm going to do a few rows, so I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Okay, and we just have to do a few rows until we think it's going to keep knitting off well. This one got pulled out when I moved it. Okay. Oops, push that a little too high there. This one didn't knit off all the way, okay. Okay, now I could have done arrows on the back and left it in BX, except I can't remember off the top of my head right now if the arrows changed before they hit the lock or after they hit the lock. So I'm just not going to bother looking it up and just keep going to BX because it's not a big deal. Oh, and then up. Okay, and this is going to be my last row here, and then I'm going to switch back to my main yarn. Now, since I left it open on the right, I should be able to keep knitting from where this was left off. Okay, so I put some yarn in at different times, so it was slightly twisted there, so I just untwisted it. So here, the yarn should come from there, and I can continue on. Now what I can also do is snip these yarns in the middle so that I can get past these few rows that are kind of in the way. Going to take these up and not snip our main yarn. I'm going to snip these other ones so the yarn can make it through and come up on top. See, just like that. And that should be enough to keep knitting. It's not going to be a problem. So that stitch is loose because the waste yarn, I mean my extra row. Okay. So then I'm going to continue on from there, which means I'm going to put the stitches I want to knit into work. So I only want to knit these right now because I'm starting from here. I'm on LX on the front. On the back, I am on, I'm going to be on CX. Okay, and I don't need those pushers anymore. I'm just gonna put them down, whatever. So I'm going to do one row, and it's gonna start from here on. Something got stuck. Let's look what happened. Oh no, it was just popping. Oh, more tension. Here. Okay. Okay, and now we've knit into the waste yarn. And then on the back, we're CX still, so it's just going to continue knitting straight across. Okay, and I'm going to continue across the whole bed. I don't need those pushers anymore. I'm going to begin CX on the front. And then continue across. Okay, now I'm going to do my first decrease.